In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a workflow that automates creating newsletters in n8n. And it's fully customizable. You can change the news source, add and remove them as you like, change the structure of your newsletter, and if you want, you can email it automatically to yourself and to your readers. For this workflow, we will use 5 different RSS feeds for our news sources, ChatGPT for our agent, and Convert API for building the PDF. As you probably know, the ChatGPT API is paid, although it's very cheap for each call. However, Convert API offers a generous free tier with 30 days and 1,000 conversions for free. So let's get started. Okay, so let's create a new workflow and let's call this something like newsletter workflow. All right, so the first thing, we're going to add a manual trigger so we can run this anytime we want. And then we're going to add an RSS read node. And here is where we're going to get our news sources. Now for the URL, you have them in the video description. I have the links here. So let me just copy and paste that. And I'm going to call this RSS read node wired. Okay, let me try and execute that and let's see if that works. That gives us 10 items. So now I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to select it and click Command D 5 times. Okay, and I'm going to link all these nodes to the trigger node so that they are triggered automatically one by one. All right, let me just arrange this. So now we have 5 nodes and we need to personalize each one. So let me just copy the second one. All right, so hopefully you've done this as well. Go one by one and set everything up. Let's execute our workflow, and that should give us results for each and every one of them. All right, so that's looking good. The only issue we have now is that we cannot just pass everything we have here into an AI, because the AI will then run as many times as we have items, right? So here it will run about 50 times, which is not ideal. So we need to kind of collate all these items into a single one so that we can pass it to our AI. So let's add a node here, and we're going to add the merge node, and we're going to have 5 inputs, and we're going to leave the mode to append. Okay, so let's attach everything to our input nodes for our merge, and then we're going to tidy up a little bit. And if I run the merge node, that should give us 52 outputs. Okay, now we have 52 items, but we cannot pass that to our agent because, as I said previously, it will run 52 times. So we're going to aggregate everything into a single item, individual fields, and here we're going to have content in the field input name. Okay, so now let's try to execute this. And then we get a single item at the output, which is exactly what we need. So now we're good to go. Let's add an AI agent. Okay, for the source of the prompt, we're going to define below and we're going to paste in the content, and we're going to add a system message. By the way, if you've made it this far in the video, it likely means that you're interested in automation and n8n topics. I've prepared a school community with exactly this purpose at school.com/bottribe, link in the description. There you'll find all the prompts and code I use in this video. You can download the workflow as well as find a lot more resources about n8n workflows and automation in general. Okay, back to the workflow. And I have my message already here. Let me show you what this is. You are a newsletter builder agent. You receive a number of articles, select the top 10, and so on, some information. Importantly here, the output must be in HTML format, and the newsletter title, output the HTML and nothing else. You can of course personalize this if you want more control over the way the newsletter will come out. Now for the chat model, I'm going to use an OpenAI. I'm assuming you have an OpenAI account. If not, you need to go to platform.openai.com, set up an account there, and set everything up. Here you will add new credentials and you'll get the API key from the website. Okay, so that's all there is to it. It's quite straightforward. All right, for the chat model, I'm going to use 4.1 mini because it's a bit faster. You can use 5 as the smartest model out there at the moment, but I want to make it a bit faster. So let me just execute the workflow and see what we get. All right, so that executed successfully. Let's have a look at the output and we get the HTML that we were looking for, right? So we have HTML here. Okay, now we need to pass this HTML to Convert API. The only problem is that we cannot just pass it directly because Convert API requires text in the base64 format. So we need to convert this HTML into base64. So let's add a code node here. And I'm just going to paste my code in. You can either copy paste from the community or you can copy it by hand. Either way, we should be good to go. Let me execute the step. And then we get the HTML base64 as we were expecting. Okay, so that's all good. Now let's add a Convert API node. And here we need to have a credential, right? So we create a new credential. We need an API token. Of course, you need an account with Convert API. So head over to their website, convertapi.com, and create an account with signup. So once you've created your account, head over to authentication, and here you can create a new token. Go back and paste your API token here, and you should be good to go. Now, let's configure this node. The method is going to be post, and this is the URL. So convertapi.com/convert HTML to PDF. Okay, we need to send the body, and here specify body using JSON. Again, you can copy this from the community or just type it out yourself. It's very simple. It just has a name, file value, the name of the final output, and the data that we pass here, which is the HTML B64. Okay, so let's go ahead and execute this step and see the output that we get. Okay, so that's successfully completed, and then we get the file data. Of course, we just get raw data here, so we need to actually convert that into a file. So let's add a final code node, and I'm just going to paste my code here and execute. All right, so that finished executing. With that, we have our data. So let me just download. And then if we have a look at the output, we get something like this. Your output might differ slightly because it depends on how the AI agent decides to create the newsletter, but you can of course personalize that or give a more detailed prompt to have more control over how it generates. But in any case, we have a nice looking newsletter, and you can use that to send to a Gmail account directly in the workflow, or you can use it to do whatever you need to do with it. All right, so that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.